All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to No Fear, the podcast that explores the boundaries of courage and fear. I am Pete Pepe, one of the co-founding members of 3777. I have the great pleasure of having with me today the other two co-founding members of 3777. Off to my left is Mr. Eero Seppänen and Mr. Jeb Corliss directly in front of me. Now, today's going to be a fun one, like they usually are. Today's theme is resiliency. Now, life usually doesn't hand us a guidebook on how to be resilient. Usually it hands us a swift kick in the balls and some other hard knocks. So in Jeb's case, it usually hands him a bunch of hard rocks. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, is impacting rocks. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. What we want to really talk about is how to be resilient, how being injured and then going through a recovery process. And if you are that person that has that capacity to become resilient, you can turn it into a powerful thing and actually probably at the other end of it become a better version of yourself. But before I unleash Mr. Corliss and his stories, I would like to hand it over to Eero.
Thank you. When most people talk about greatest hits, it's usually a referral to music or good times and highlight reels. But with us, it has a different meaning. We take it very seriously. When we talk about hits, we talk about hits against object at full speed. And that's going to be the theme of the episode. We're going to be talking about the accidents that didn't only break our bones, but it broke us us to enter into something much more meaningful and deeper. But before we go into the deep waters, I want to lighten up the mood and tell you a joke. So what is in common with Jeb Corliss and Nelson Mandela? They both have a big impact in South Africa.
I was going to say it's not their hairstyle.
Probably not. But that's a credit for that joke to goes to our dear late friend Jarno Kordia. And I'm going to set a little bit of a landscape. So to the year 2012, we had just completed a very successful event with Jeb in China. He had become the first person to fly through an enclosed formation. He went through a hole in the mountain in China, and it had made international waves, and we were kind of very confident about Jeb and your flying and where he would take us from there. And he was doing a show for HBO, and for a couple of days he had asked, like, why don't I come to check out his flying? And I'm a big fan of his flying, but I've seen so many times. So I said, like, no, I'm not today. But then one day he said, like, I'm going to fly between balloons and it's my playground now. And then I was like, oh, he might have lost some of the respect. So I took my camera and said, I'm going to come to have a look. And then, yeah, there we go. You can maybe continue the story from your perspective.
Yeah. So, anyways, I'd been jumping Tail Mountain for many, many years. This trip was for Real Sports and HBO. They'd contacted me and talked to me about, hey, we'd like to do a project with proximity flying wingsuits. What are you up to? And I told them that I was going back to South Africa to fly a wingsuit from Tail Mountain, which I had done in 2002 and almost died. And this was like me coming back and like a decade later to do the jump that almost killed me, which is semi-ironic. So basically, for the week we'd been jumping and we'd been getting a lot of really good footage and it had been going perfectly, and I got really comfortable. I started getting super comfortable flying there with the new wingsuit, the new technology, the new skill set. It actually was a pretty reasonable jump. I felt it was, you can't use the word safe, but it was safe-ish, for what we did. And I felt very comfortable flying there. And I was getting more and more comfortable, which is not necessarily a good thing when things are this. I mean, it's like, the truth is, it's just as dangerous as it's always been. And when you start becoming complacent, you start becoming too comfortable, it's not a good thing.
Right.
Fear is actually very important. It helps keep you in check. It helps keep you safe. And I was not being safe. And I was training for another project that was coming. And I had our friend Moose, who's a cameraman, go onto a lower ledge and set up balloons as a target for me to hit. Because my next project was going to be about precision. Like, I had to be very precise.
Where were you setting these balloons up? Like, could you just
So basically what happens is you're leaving from the top of Table Mountain, and then as you're flying down Table Mountain, there's a massive series of like a talus. And at the midpoint, there's an actual like ledge system. So I was having him set balloons on a 6-foot string on the edge of this ledge, so it would allow me to hit the balloon and then fly over the ledge and then keep going.
It's like a landing pad.
And then behind that, he had already done the hit of Grinding the Crack, where he performed similar stunt, and it had tens of millions of views. So it was a repeat of something that you had done, but on a really scenic surrounding.
So it was a similar, I'd done it similar, but again, it was a great way of training for the next project. So I was using it to train for what was coming. And we were already done filming for HBO. They got all the footage they needed. Everyone left. The producers all left. And this was just me going and doing a couple extra jumps. And the targets were just for my training. And just so happens our buddy went down there, set the targets up. And this day was tricky because we had like a time schedule because apparently like wind was coming. And we needed to jump before it got too windy, and it was super duper hot. So the later you went in the day, the hotter it got. And I think it was like record breaking 110 degrees Fahrenheit. Like it was going to be a crazy hot day. So we wanted to get this done before it got too hot and before the winds picked up. So we were kind of rushing to get there. And on our way, they had just started like school again, and it was the first day we hit traffic. And because we hit traffic, I was going like we were behind schedule. Everything was behind schedule, and we were kind of rushing, and it kind of put me in a strange mood. Like I became very agitated and very aggressive and very like, I needed to get there and get this done before it got too hot. Anyways, we get there, we're again rushing. We get to the exit point, again rushing. My friend Joby jumped before me. He jumped off and he flew over the balloons and blew them around a little bit. And then it was my turn, and as I was gearing up and getting ready, and my good friend Jeff, who was filming the jump, was next to me, I call down to Moose, and I say, okay, we're getting ready to go. We're going to give you 10 seconds. And he's like, well, Jeb, so be careful. He's like, the wind's blowing pretty hard, and the balloons are moving around, so you may want to fly over them. You probably shouldn't go for them. And I'm like, and I could see them from where I was. So I was looking down, I could see them moving, and I'm like, well, I can see them. And if they're moving, I'll fly over. But if they're still, I'm going to go for them. And he's like, all right, be careful, So I'm sitting there and like I'm kind of baking. Like I'm in a black suit, black helmet, sun's beating down on me. I'm getting crazy hot. I'm sweating. It's actually causing, I'm starting to get a little lightheaded. So it's affecting my mind a little bit. And it was just the heat was really oppressive. And I'm like, I got to get off this thing and I got to get off now. So I tell Jeff, I'm ready. Let's go. 10 seconds. I do my countdown and I step off. And as I step off, I start flying, and I can see the balloons, and I see the black balloon, and it's stable. It's not moving anywhere. So I'm already like, I'm going for it. It's not moving. The winds seem like they're okay. So I start diving to generate speed because I want to basically come in, generate some lift, and then come through and just hit the targets at kind of a more flat angle. And as I'm coming through, I see the balloon, and I feel like I'm good. I'm like, I'm coming for that balloon. I'm going to get my balloon. And then all of a sudden, I'm flipping. I'm just like tumbling in the sky. And it was strange because I didn't fully understand what was happening. I didn't see it coming. I thought I was good. I thought I was on target. I thought I was going to hit the balloon. I did hit the balloon. And then all of a sudden, I'm just tumbling. And it didn't take long for me to realize that I had just impacted. Like I had hit the cliff, like the ledge. And I could feel that I'd hit the ledge just below the waist. And now I'm actually tumbling through the air, and the first thought that goes through my mind is, I need to recover. I mean, I'm gonna die. But it's funny because my mind, I've had time distortion. Like I've had accidents, and I've done jumps that were so scary that time stretches. This one was unique because not only did time stretch, but my mind broke into two different thought processes. So time was feeling like, seconds were stretching into minutes, but beyond it stretching into minutes, all of a sudden my mind went into two separate tracks of thought. And one of the tracks of thought was just technical information, just the data. Like, okay, you're tumbling, you need to regain control. Okay, you've regained control. Oh, you've got a ledge. You have to get over that ledge. Oh, there's a second ledge. You have to get over that ledge. And it was like trying to determine where I was going to deploy my parachute or where I could deploy a parachute. Also, the wingsuit was completely shredded on one side, so it was trying to pull me back into the mountain. So now I'm trying to adjust to keep the suit from flying me back into the mountain, which I had never had to do before. So that part of my brain was very active, like just trying to sort out all the technical components. But the other part of my brain was having a more like philosophical kind of conversation. And the conversation was pretty simple. It's like, okay, you have impacted flat rock at terminal velocity, over 120 miles an hour. You are going to die. Like this is an unsurvivable accident. You cannot survive this. I mean, my buddy Dwayne hit something, was literally severed in half in almost the exact same way. So for me, I knew it wasn't like you're maybe going to, no, 100% I'm going to die. So having this kind of understanding that death was coming and there was nothing I could do to stop it, then all of a sudden the thought was, well, what kind of death do you want? Do you want it to be like slow and painful and agonizing, while you're waiting for a rescue to come get you? I mean, I've been part of a lot of heli rescues. You're looking at 45 minutes to an hour to get to the hospital. I'm most definitely going to bleed out before that happens. My legs are destroyed. I can feel that they're crushed. The pain is so surreal that it's impossible to even describe it. The pain was horrific. And I knew, I'm like, I'm dead. There's no way, I might get 5 minutes, 10 minutes, who knows, but it's not going to be very long. And I'm going to suffer. It's going to be a very painful, suffering death. Or you just don't pull and you just go head in and you'll die instantly, and it'll be no pain. Wow. You'll just, the pain will stop instantly. You'll just be turned off instantly. You won't have to suffer through your death. And it was a kind of complicated decision to make because, if somebody had a gun pointed at you and they're like, okay, you got a choice. I'll shoot you in the head and it's over instantly, or I'm going to shoot you in the stomach and we're going to let you bleed out and you can die over a period of time. What do you want? And it's a hard choice, and for me, I didn't know what I was going to do.
And this is happening this isn't like you're having a cup of tea thinking about this is.
Again, this happened in less than 4 or 5 seconds, but that's not what it felt like.
The reality was 4 or 5 seconds.
But in my mind, I had time. I had time to really think about this. I was really contemplating this. And then something interesting happened. So the part of my mind that was doing the calculations realized that this was the moment to pull, like right now. And it's just, you pull now or you die. That this is it. You make your choice now. And the part of my brain that was kind of making the decision, all of a sudden, I kind of decided, I want time. I don't care if I'm in pain. I don't care if I'm suffering. I don't care what it is. I want time. And it was strange because all of a sudden I realized the only thing that actually matters in life is time. That time that you get to exist. And if it was going to be 1 more second or 1 more minute or 1 more day, I wanted that time. And I'm like, I'm pulling. So I did. Wow. I pulled. So I pulled, and as I pulled, I got line twists, a 180, and then I impacted a second time. The canopy ride was less than 1.5 seconds. So I pulled basically as low as you can pull and survive. And it's interesting because at that moment, I was pretty pissed off at myself for pulling because the pain was so bad that it's and I've experienced a lot of pain. I've been hurt a lot in my life. I've experienced pain. I've been eaten by little crabs, while I'm laying in water with a shattered spine. So I understand pain. I have experienced. Wow. But this was on a different level. It was something so bad and so extreme and just so horrible. And it wasn't just that my legs were crushed and all the muscle was literally, almost liquefied. I was just being baked. The heat was just cooking me, and I was just being baked while I was bleeding, while I was shattered. And the brutality was so extreme, and I was so upset. I'm like, you dumb motherfucker. Like, what the fuck? Why did you do that? Like, oh my God. And at this stage, I'm gonna die. Like, it's not even the thought of living didn't even exist. Like, that wasn't happening. I was dying, and I was just dying slowly. That's all this is. I'm getting the time, but it's hurting.
So when you were making the decisions, so again, for the audience out there, and if you can find the footage or we'll post it again, but holy shit, it's vicious. But when you impact, so your legs, there's the cliff, he comes flying down, he clips this thing from his lower body down, he hits it 120 miles an hour, solid granite rock, whatever stone it was that pain instant in your, because that is phenomenal when you're basically explaining like you've got two sides of your brain, fucking one's trying to calculate, how do I get out of this, the other one's going, do I really want to deal with the pain or do I want to die? was that pain already
Instant.
present? Because you also spiral, don't you?
Yeah, I tumble, and my years and years of acrobatic training made me recover quickly. Luckily, I had that.
Because that should have been it right there.
Oh no,
right?
most people when you're not in tumbling in a wingsuit, it can take 1,000+ feet to recover, and the suit was completely demolished.
And hitting
Let
rock.
me give a spectator point of view what's happening in the meanwhile. So I was basically witnessing him. Like I took you and Jeff jumped, and I was click the last couple of shots. I kept taking pictures, and then I could hear this noise. Like I lost the sight of Jeff for a little while, and then I just heard this noise. I was like, oh my God, that's something else. That wasn't Jeff. And then I kept watching, like I saw Jeff flying. I could see only one canopy. And then I was like, oh my God, like did it
you
really
saw
happen?
His cameraman's canopy?
And I know Jeff always has a black canopy, so it's quite easy to recognize wherever he is. I never saw that black canopy, and I was realizing like, this is finally it. Like for me, you're like a real life superhero. I've seen you survive from so many different accidents, but then I realized it was a dark sensation that that's finally him. Like he went in, and I can understand I don't see him, but if I heard him like smacked against the mouth, then his chances to survive are slim to none.
So did you see him hit the balloon? Because I know that was the target, right?
I think I lost him just eyesight for him for a second because he went under the ledge quite quickly. So all I saw I lost an eyesight of him, and then I heard the explosion, and then I just kind of accounted 1 + 1 is 2, and then he's gone there. And I went imagining like usually because we've been in so many rescues and so many deaths, so you go on this kind of a work mode and you try to figure out like the rescue, and luckily we had Moose there who's a volunteer on a Table Mountain, so every time there's accidents he's there to help them out, and he had a speed dial for the helicopter, so we were able to organize help. Suddenly I started to get all the calls and my battery was running out. I only had 10%, so I have to make this count. So I called like Moose, and they kind of explained where my perspective, and let's try to locate him and see what happened and where his body's going to be. And I remember going to the cable car and walking down after seeing, and I started to like word in my head, like, what's the conversation I have to do with Gigi, like Jeb's mom, and I would have to pass the news. And I remember kind of a word from word, and I had already lost hopes, like he's not going to survive it. It's just too loud impact. And I remember when I was coming down from the gondola, I saw his canopy just next to the hiking trail up the mountain. And I was there he is. So I think the last message I sent to Moose was like, I know his exact location. He's by the hiking track. And then I had no more coverage. And then I like hiked up. I had flip-flops. I was flying through the mountain. I thought
flip-flops.
Heart was coming off my chest.
I hear some weird flopping coming towards me. What the fuck is that creature?
And then I remember when I reached his level and I had my camera, and I remember zooming into him. Like I was exhausted. I had to stop for 10 seconds. And I remember zooming to Jeb, and I just to looking the situation. And I figured if everyone, like there were already a few people had reached him. And if their head would be down and they would be crying, and they would be like, okay, he's going to be dead. He's smashed. There's just like a horrible sight waiting for me. But I was surprised, like people were kind of moving around. They were building a shelter for him. And I say, oh my God, there's something that needs to be done. And suddenly I got a second wind and the flip-flop started to go again. I finally got to you. And then yeah.
Okay, so let's back you up. You get a line twist again, which is, maybe you can explain that for the general public, because even I'm still confused on that. I know visually a little bit what it is. You get the line twist, you've deployed this thing. So that landing in itself was...
It broke more bones.
You're already fucked up. You're already in a mess.
The line twists, so a line twist is your parachute opens and it has a bunch of lines that cascade down to your shoulders, and that's what you fly. A line twist is those lines have spun up into a circle. So now you have no control over the canopy. And the canopy is also distorted, so it actually comes down faster. I also had an off-heading opening, meaning I was facing back into the cliff that I'd just been trying to fly over. So I got a 180 with line twist, meaning there was no control. But even if I could, I only had a 1.5 second window from it opening from me hitting. So it was very, very fast.
Shit.
It opened, I hit almost right after.
When did you hit?
The cliff.
Again?
Yeah.
No, he hit his mountain when he flew over, but when he didn't have whose canopy, so he hit the kind of a cliff.
So there was
you hit again?
Yes. So there's a ledge.
God.
There's a ledge, and I hit the cliff again. So I got off and smacked in the cliff, and that broke my legs even some more. But
wow.
It was really brutal and really horrible, and I remember people showing up. So the first people who showed up were just hikers. So a couple hikers apparently were walking on the trail when I impacted. And at that stage, I was hit so hard and I was in so much pain. I wasn't making any sound. I was quiet. Like I was just laying there, just breathing, like just this really deep, just like trying to get oxygen into my lungs and just like, and it was just, it's like a hurricane. It's literally just fills your brain. All there is pain. That's all there is. You can't think of anything else. And these people show up. It's a woman and a man, and they were like asking me questions. And at first I was answering their questions, and they asked me what my name was, and I told them. My head didn't get hit, so luckily I was clear. They asked me some other questions, and I answered them. And then I stopped answering them. Like they kept asking me, because they were trying to keep me awake. Like they didn't want me to fall asleep. And I just was too like broken. I could no longer communicate. I just didn't have the strength to like keep talking to them. So I stopped talking, and then you could hear them start getting very scared that I was like, that they were losing me, because I was really bad. It was not good. And so they started getting very like anxious and started like, and I kind of then it kind of gets surreal. Things start kind of getting strange. It's hard for me to really remember, because when you go through a very traumatic experience, your memories are not that great. But the next thing I kind of remember is Jeff getting to me. And then Jeff is working with them to pull the canopy over me because I'm really hot. And I remember being really, really hot. And I think I did communicate, I'm cooking, I'm baking, I need shade. And so they did that. Then I remember, I think Moose and you showed up almost at the same time. You guys showed up close. Yeah. But Moose got there, and he does like rescues and stuff. So he really got on it. Eero showed up, and then people started showing up.
First words from him, you were trying to communicate with me. He was like all blue and battered. I was like, keep filming. He wanted to make sure that that rescue is captured.
Yeah. The problem is that whenever there's an accident, people stop filming, because it's so bloody and so brutal and so horrible that they don't think the person wants to be filmed. Like they don't want to see, they don't think people should see this because it's so horrible. But me, I knew from experience that the footage is super important. One, I was going to have to pay a very big bill. Like this is going to be very expensive. So I was going to have to like
make it worth it.
This was going to help me finance paying that big bill. But beyond paying the big bill, I also felt it's super important I'm dying. This is my last moments. You know, I would like my mom to see it. I would like the people who care about me to see my last little time here, you know, and this is their only way they're going to get to. So for me, filming is important. I think it's important for people to see. And like, I wouldn't want my mom to see it. I want my mom to see everything. You know, I want everyone to see everything, the good, the bad, everything. So it was important for me. So yes, when he showed up, I'm like, make sure people film this. And actually, I said it to Jeff too. Like, I'm like, Jeff, you need to film this. And he's like, oh, okay. Because he was like trying to help me. I'm like, stop doing that.
I'm sure Ear was like, don't worry, I'm still filming.
Yeah, but some great footage.
Yeah, like, don't worry, I'm filming.
So that happened. Then the heli started showing up, and it's quite a process that they have to put you through to get you ready, like stable to move you via helicopter. And that took some time. And I remember people saying, you know, we're going to give you drugs. And I said, no, I don't want drugs. Don't give me drugs. I want the experience, whatever it is, because I'm dying. I don't care. You know, I need to feel it. I need to feel the pain. I need to feel everything. Apparently, I was screaming a lot.
Yeah, you were really difficult to move. You're like, oh, don't give me everything for the pain. And then we tried to lift him. It's like, oh! So then we had to trick you.
But this is the kind of concept. If I'm screaming, let me scream. I mean, fucking who gives a shit?
We'll do it in the future.
Yeah, in the future, just let me scream. Just move me screaming. It's like, I'm going to scream. I'm in pain. But just move me screaming. Okay. But in any event, so my whole concept in life is that I'm trying to have experiences. And this was an experience that I earned. And I deserved to suffer. I made a mistake, and the pain is part of, you know, the process. I had to experience it because it was, you know, that's how I learn. I don't learn any other way. I have to get messed up. But in any event, they finally got me stable. They put me in like this thing that they hooked to a helicopter, which they then took off with, and they went and dropped me into an ambulance. And I remember getting put in the ambulance. Like that whole part was very surrealistic and super strange. And it's hard for me to articulate like the experience of the movement between places. But I do remember being in the ambulance, and I remember two men who are obviously paramedics, and they were working on me, and I wasn't communicating. And I think they thought I was unconscious, but I wasn't. I could hear everything they were saying, but I was not saying anything. I wasn't doing anything. I was just laying there. And they were looking at my legs, and I heard them both say, "Oof, this looks like a double amputation." That's what they said. And I was like, and it was weird because when I heard them say that, something really strange happened. I was like, wow, you mean I might not die? Because up until that second, I was going to die. Like, I knew I'm dead. And I'm like, they're not going to do a double amputation on a person who's dead. Like, you're only doing that on someone you think you can save. And that was the first moment where I thought, oh man, maybe I might not die. And I became so happy. It was strange. I hearing that my legs were going to get cut off, I didn't give two shits. I'm like, I might not die. Wow. I'm like, I'll read. I have lots of books to read. There's all kinds of shit I can do without legs. Who gives a crap? Take them. I don't, whatever. And it was a weird thing to go from, when I was a teenager being super depressed and not wanting to live and being, ready to kill myself, to having this accident and choosing life, like choosing to pull the parachute and choosing to get that extra time. And then hearing that I'm going to be crippled for life and that they're going to take my legs. And I'm just like, I didn't care. I was so ecstatic and so happy. And it was a strange, like, real shift in a person's life to understand how important life is in any circumstance. And, then we went to the hospital and they did all the tests and stuff. And then, and I'm still kind of like, well, I don't know how bad this is going to be. I still was thinking, well, I'm probably going to live now because I am feeling like with all the testing they're doing, and I'm feeling better actually. I'm still in pain, but but I'm feeling like maybe I won't die, Yeah. And then the doctor comes in and he starts going through the list. Now I'm conscious and I'm communicating and talking and feeling a bit better. They're hydrating me because I was actually. No, they weren't hydrating me. That's right, because they were going to go into surgery. Oh, that's right. They weren't giving me water. I was thirsty.
Oh, you're dying.
That's right. I was super thirsty because they weren't giving me water because I had to go into surgery. But the doctor, he started telling me like everything that was wrong. And he said, your thighs are crushed. The muscles in both your thighs are he called it a degloving injury, but it really wasn't because the skin wasn't, but it was all crushed underneath the skin.
So we're talking about just the muscles or what bones on top of it?
Just thighs. It's no bones, just thighs. So my thighs were crushed. The muscles was mostly soft tissue. I had a gaping hole in my right shin that needed skin grafting to close. I had blown, they were pretty sure I'd blown the ACL in my left knee. I'd broken a bunch of toes. I had broken both my ankles. And then that was pretty much it.
Fuck.
And the doctor said he couldn't believe that I didn't break more bones.
I was just going to say, for as shocking as that video
couldn't believe that you survived,
No.
and then up the seriousness of your accidents. They were serious, but they could have been a lot more
way
serious.
worse. But the doctor said, he's like, Jeb, he's like, you are the luckiest person on this planet. He's like, the worst injury you have is the blown ACL, and athletes get that all the time. He's like, we're gonna be able to repair that, and he's like, you're gonna have as close to 100% recovery as a person can have. You're going to walk totally normal again. And I was like, and it was just, to say I was ecstatic is beyond it. I was so happy. I can't even describe it to you. And what was weird is that the video of my impact had already been sent out to the press. So the press was already descending upon the hospital. And like, apparently this woman walks in and she's head of like like, I guess they deal with relations, public relations for the hospital. And she walks in and she starts asking me questions. And I'm like, hey, man, I'm kind of like in the middle of something right now. And she's like, I know. She's like, I hear you. She's like, I just need you to give me a quote. She's like, because the papers are going crazy. They're trying to break in. They're literally trying to sneak in as your mom and your sisters. They're trying to pretend to be family members. She's like, so we just have to give them a statement to like make them leave us, like kind of leave us alone. And I'm just like, she's like, what would you like to say? And my response was, just tell them this is the greatest day of my life. And she's just like, and she looked at me like I was a lunatic. She's like, how could this be the greatest day of your life? And I'm like, because I made the biggest mistake a person can possibly make. I should be dead. And the fact that I'm getting a second chance at life, if that's not the greatest day of my life, I don't know what is. You know? And she was just like, whoa. And I'm like, I was so happy that it's impossible to describe it, to knowing I was going to die, to hearing that I'm going to have a full recovery. Yeah, I had a lot of surgeries in front of me, and they were going to have to do skin grafting, and there was a lot of stuff going on. And I broke my fibula, and there were some broken bones in there, but nothing serious, right? It was all pretty standard. I have a little bit of metal in my ankles from like screws, and then obviously ACL reconstruction stuff, and the biggest thing that they had to deal with was the hole in my shin, because that was going to it took multiple skin grafts, and that took a month. And
How was that experience? Because I've had, just for the audience, Eero and I have a little insight into that one.
I'm going to tell you what, if you ever hear skin grafting, if they ever say that about you, just tell them to kill you. Just say, you know what? Just go ahead and just end it now, because skin grafting is one of the most horrifically painful things I've ever experienced.
Give us a little taste of what it was. I remember you telling a little story.
It feels a little bit like you've been branded. So that moment that they burn you, it feels like that for 2 weeks. Like it just burns and burns and burns. And I don't do pain meds. So they warned me. When they did the skin graft, they're like, they put you under. So during that period, obviously I'm out, and they gave me stuff. And then when I woke up, I'm feeling fine, because they'd given me stuff while I was unconscious. And they're like, here, we're going to give you. And I'm like, no, I'm good. And they're like, oh no, you're not good. They're all, trust us. They're all, once this wears off, you're going to go through like pain on a level you can't even comprehend. And I'm like, I'm fine. I don't need it. I'm just going to go through the pain. And they're like, no, you're not. And we got in this huge argument fighting about it. And finally I won. And they're like, okay, fine. We won't do it.
So describe that.
I just did. It was 2 weeks of feeling like I was being branded.
If I remember, you said, quotes, it was like an open nerve.
Well, it was, yeah.
Right? Where you were like, whole...
No. They take it's like 7 layers of skin, or I forget how many layers, but there's like a certain amount of layers, and they take it all the way down to the bottom 2. And those bottom 2 layers are the nerve layer. That's where so literally your nerves are raw to the air. And it is so painful. Like it's.
So how does it? I think to actually offer some tools for our viewers who are interested in this. Like how can you take this type of pain, and how do you motivate yourself going through and have that resilience to go through all that battle?
Pain is kind of like fear. You build up a tolerance to it over time. So if you are constantly taking pain meds, like anytime you have a headache, or anytime you have a toothache, or anytime you have any kind of ache, you kind of make yourself, I don't know, gentle or kind of fragile because you don't allow yourself to experience pain, and for me, if I have a headache, I have a headache. That's what I'm dealing with now. I don't take anything for headaches. I put some ice on my head. I try to calm down. I drink some water, but I do not take pain meds for headaches. I experience them, and that's part of training, right?
Do you have like a mind castle method where you have like a fictional building in your house, and some of the rooms are really cold? When it's hot, you go to that room. And
sounds like a great idea, but no, I just take pain. So what I do is I feel pain. Like right now, honestly, I'm in pain right now. I mean, sitting in this chair hurts me. My back is in a constant state of pain. I'm always in pain. I feel pain all the time. I've been feeling pain since I hit the waterfall in South Africa. So that's like 30 years almost, like 28 years of constant nonstop pain. So what I do is I'm always in pain. So there's like a level, let's say 1 to 10, right? I'm always at a 2. Like there's never anything more, like I'm never better than 2, right? 2 is basically my best case scenario.
Yeah.
If like right now, I'd say I'm at like a 3 or 4 based on what's going on with my back from sitting in this chair for all this time. Table Mountain is like, you take 10 and then crank it, double it, that's what that was, right? So, I'd say skin grafting, same. Ooh. It's like 10, and you go double that because it's beyond any like rational. And I've experienced pain, like the skin grafting pain was one where your body starts to reject life basically, and you start shaking. Like I started like my whole body started vibrating. Yeah. Like I started like this, like almost like I was shivering from cold, right? So I'm just shivering in the bed, and the woman comes up to me and she's like, "Are you shivering because you're cold, or are you shivering because you're in pain?" And I'm like, it's pain. And she's like, well, Jeb, I'm going to tell you a little something about what's happening right now. She's like, if you don't allow me to give you something right now, that skin graft we just did is going to be rejected. She's like, and when it gets rejected, we're going to have to do another skin graft. She's like, so you should probably let us give you something. Wow. And I was just like, but I couldn't stop the shivering. So I'm like, all right, fine. You can give me something for right now. I'm all, but, this is the only time. And she's like, Jeb, I don't know why you're rejecting this so hard. She's like, I don't know why you're making this so hard on yourself. I'm like, whatever, So she did give me something at that moment. That was the only time I accepted it. And then the shivering went away. But what's funny is the pain didn't. Like whatever she gave me, I still felt enormous amounts of pain, but at least it stopped the shivering. And then luckily the next day when I woke up, the pain was still very extreme, but not enough to make me shiver. And then she kept every day. She's like, do you want painkillers? It is like the biggest drug pushers I've ever been around. Nonstop. Do you want painkillers? And it's hard because you're in pain. Like you're in real pain. So they're constantly pushing. And every day I had to reject. And by day 5, I'm just like, hey, could you please stop asking me? I don't want you to keep asking me this. She's like, I'm sorry, but it's our job. I have to ask you every single day. And so for every single day, for almost 2 months, I had to say no.
And that's how the opioid crisis in the U.S. was.
Let me put it this way. Pain, I don't see pain like other people, right? I don't see it as a negative thing, just like I don't see fear as a negative thing. I think pain is a signal that we have developed over billions of years of evolution to tell us something is wrong. Right. And you need to listen to pain. You don't just, I don't want to take a substance that numbs the pain out. No, I want to find out what's causing the pain and then try to solve the problem. I don't want to just, I will take medication that fixes problems. So if I have bronchitis and I need an antibiotic to wipe out a bacterial infection, I'll take it all day long. No problem, right? But if you're going to give me a pain medication that's not solving the problem, but only just covering up a symptom, I don't want that. I want the pain to tell me when I can do things. Can I get up? Can I go to the bathroom by myself? When I'm going through rehab, how hard can I push? The pain needs to tell me. I need to listen. So, and I'm not just talking about physical pain. That's also for emotional pain, right? You need to understand, why is this thing causing me pain? Yet pain is a signal that's there to help you. It's not there to hurt you. It's not there to cause problems for you. No, it's there to show you something is wrong and that you need to focus on this spot right now. And you need to do the right things for healing, whether it's emotional or physical, same thing. So for me, that's why I'm so anti-pain medication. Because one, the opioid crisis and people become addicts and it takes over your whole life. But another thing is it's also, I think it's detrimental to your well-being. You actually need to feel the pain so that you could, a good way to describe it is I have a broken foot, right? Yeah. And I'm laying in bed. And if I take pain meds, I'll just let that foot flop over to the side. I'm just going to let it lay wherever it wants to lay because I don't feel the pain and whatever. But when you feel pain, you don't do that. Now, all of a sudden, you put your foot in just the right position to where you feel the least amount of pain. And that's the best position for it to heal. And that's why, and again, and then there's a philosophical aspect to pain as well. I actually think that pain for myself is an important teacher. It's how I learn. Unfortunately, if I break a leg and I'm better in 6 weeks, I don't learn shit. I'll keep doing the same thing. If anything, it's a negative lesson because I'm indestructible. That's all I get better in 6 weeks. No problem, right? Well, when you get hurt real bad and you're in pain for a year and you can't sit in a movie theater because it causes you too much physical pain, or you can't get out of bed and you have to poop in a bedpan, well, that's the teacher. Yeah. That's what you learn from. And I not just from physical pain, also emotional pain, right? You have a situation that causes you emotional pain. That's what teaches you. I know from my own experience, I've done thousands and thousands of jumps. 5 of them mean anything. I didn't learn shit from thousands of jumps. I didn't learn anything. I just had fun. I had a good time. Sure, I don't learn anything from having a good time and having fun. Don't get me wrong. It's good having fun. That's great. Yeah. But you don't learn from it. I learned from having accidents, getting broken, feeling pain, suffering for long periods of time, and that's what I have learned from. That's what's made me grow. That's what's made me stronger. And as far as this, what technique do you have? Grow some fucking balls and take the fucking pain. That's it. Stop being a pussy, man. Yeah. And the reality is, it's there's this great little thing, and it's this like old timey boxer, and it's like, you want me to take pain pills? You mean bitch mints? Because that's what I mean. It's like, get serious, dude. It's like, take the goddamn pain because we're supposed to.
Yeah.
That's what it's literally into our DNA to protect us, just like fear. You can't just ignore it. You can't just hide from it. You must face it. Yeah. And that's what makes you strong. That I think that I'm a stronger, better person today because of the pain and suffering that I have experienced. The fear that I have put myself through has made me a stronger person. We're living in a society where everyone wants to be in temperature-controlled houses, where nothing ever bad happens, they never get hurt, and if for some reason, I stubbed my toe, quick, let's go grab a pain med. You know, It's like, gee, I have a slight headache. Where's the Tylenol? It's like, dude, fucking, you got a headache. Big deal, bitch. I mean, is that really, that's crippling you right now? So for me, that's why, I really do see pain as an important teacher. I see it as a way to actually mitigate like your health and make your health better because it shows you what to focus on. And it also helps you emotionally. If something's causing you pain, why? Right. Why is this person making you feel pain? If an individual human being is saying things and doing things that give you pain, fuck them.
Yeah.
Literally, fuck them. Last thing I'm gonna do is take some medication and be like, okay, I want to hang out now. No, you're a dick. Get the fuck out of my life.
Well, look, it's interesting to see how you've used one of your probably the most horrific accidents that you've had and the other accidents on top of it and built this resiliency. And I like the fact that you put that out to the viewers because you're right. So many people, it's like anything goes wrong and it's like, I need a Band-Aid because I got a paper cut and this and that and then the meds and so on. And so many people are so desensitized to things because everything has to be a pill for something.
I do want to say one thing. There are varying degrees of things, right? Yeah. So if you are, let's say you have a genuine mental disorder. Let's say you have bipolar then take your medication. There are medications that help solve problems. Like I said, I'm all for taking medication that helps you and does things that keep you alive and benefit your life. They exist. Yeah. They're not all bad, right? But if it's just going to be covering up a symptom, avoid that like the plague. Like I do nothing that just covers symptoms. Yeah. Those symptoms, I listen to those. Like whatever the symptom is, that's what I'm paying attention to that. That's what's important. And until that symptom is gone, I want to know what's happening. Yeah. I want to know. Like I have a broken ankle. I need to know. Otherwise, I'm going to walk on it.
Right.
If I'm taking pain meds, I'll walk to the bathroom and I'm only going to hurt it and it's going to take longer to heal. Whereas if it hurts, I'm not going to put weight on it. I'm going to make sure, So anyways, that's my thing.
I think it's great to get your perspective. I want to ask Ira the same question. Was there and get his perspective on it too, just since I both of you here. I know you've had some pretty horrible accidents too. One in particular that I'd like you to talk about, which basically was a crossroads with your career in the sport of base jumping and wingsuit. So could you elaborate on this accident? I know I'm pretty sure it deals with your ankle.
Yeah, that was when you were there when it happened. I think it was 2002 or 2003.
2002.
I haven't been able to run since that day. And Chip tells his stories like in a little bit more detail, so I'm gonna save viewers a little bit of a time and kind of give a highlight version of my own accident. It was in about 740 feet high courthouse cliff in Arizona. And I was in a very dangerous stage in my career when I had a couple hundred jumps and I thought I knew it all and I didn't take that jump very seriously. And I was warned before. Everyone tells me, like, when you're going to exit, you're going to see that this ledge is going to come at you and you look like you're going to impact it, but you have to go past it. And I was kind of like, yeah, but I'm sure. I didn't realize what kind of a horror show it would be once I exited. And then I had I didn't have any protection. I had no pad, no helmet. I had tennis shoes and I just jumped off the mountain. It was so beautiful. I remember the moment we were in the middle of the desert. It was so beautiful. The sun was already getting a little bit darker, just that moment of prettiness. And I was so grateful, what that base jumping allowed me to travel to those type of places and share those experiences with friends. And look and behold, 2 seconds later, when I exit, it looked like that ledge is going to come and eat me and I'm going to smash right against it. And I should have paid a little bit more attention. And I'm like, Shah! I opened my parachute not to impact it. And I had packed my parachute for 4 seconds or 5 seconds of delay, and I opened it after 2 seconds, which caused my parachute 180, meaning that when the parachute opens, it always has a little bit of a lift that allows you to land softly. And ideally, the parachute, you pack it the way you have your body position very symmetrical, that you would fly away from the object where you jump from. But in that case, I think I was tumbling, and the parachute opened heading the mountain, and then remember what Jeff talked about, his accident about the time stretching, same thing. So, same thing, and then I smacked against the mountain, put my legs first, and that was just the first impact, and we've lost a lot of friends in the similar type of situation, and it was this kind of a vision, I already know this is how it's going to end, and I kind of was already predicting my own funeral, and I was still, at the same time, I was fighting, like you were describing. I can resonate really well with it, because you're constantly fighting and you're working, but you do have this kind of a more philosophical conversation with yourself going at the same time. And then I just was expecting the next impact. I didn't have any helmet to kill me, but I was, at the same time, I was able to turn my parachute around and fly into safety. And then I was kind of analyzing. I had like a weird taste of like iron in my mouth. I thought I had broken my hip. And I was checking, like my condition on my left ankle was hanging by skin, and the bone was sticking out. I was like, oh, this is so bad. And the panic reaction is to start to scream to Jeb and my other friends, like, don't let my left foot touch the ground. Like, catch me, guys, catch me. And I'm like 100 kilos of fat and muscle flying through the air, like trying to hit these guys. And they try to run away, like the best of their capabilities. It's like real life video game. And yeah, everyone very panicking, me included. And I landed in the desert, and bones sticking out, and it get dark, and it was hours. I was like, it was most horrific 3 hours. Like, I would give it anything for morphine at that stage. I was bleeding it, and when the first paramedic comes, because the chopper couldn't land too close, so they had to like borrow a pickup truck to come to get me. And when they first came, I was like just waiting for that morphine to take the pain away. And they said, well, we have good news and bad news. Like, the good news, you're going towards the hospital, and bad news, we can't give you any morphine yet. You have to go to the ambulance and the helicopter. And my leg was pointing like 9 degrees on the side, and they pulled it straight. And
the bones were in the dirt.
There was like sandy bones that were connected back together.
Take the pain, take the pain.
No, I wasn't. I was like, take the medicine.
Yeah, but to cut the long story short, like I finally got my medicine, and I took everything that I could. You're special. I'm not as strong as you. but the whole, like, I think there's a purpose. Like, I mean, it took a long time, because we talk about in some other podcasts about the identity and the things that we do and how important that is. And that was the first thing, was that I was in my mind, like, how can I jump again? Like, I'm a base jumper, like this, I got to go back in the air. So like, only thing I was worrying were the trips that I had planned a few months away, would they happen or not? And since I knew that I would live, like, it was going to be only an ankle injury. But that was the first thing, like, would I change my lifestyle? Like, and because that defined me, that's all I wanted to do. And it took a long time to kind of understand the meaning of that accident and how it potentially saved my life, and going through different stages of it, like victimizing myself at first, and getting angry for the accident, and living in denial that it wasn't as bad. So I would put all these different human emotions that was related to that accident. Only with time, like, I could see the blessing in it, that it's probably saved my life, because I would have died, and it forced me to a new careers and figuring other things. But it's the same physical pain, the crying that comes along, that will never go away, and that's what we've learned to live with our lives. And for me, it's difficult, because I was like 100 kilos of muscle, and I was strong, and I could do anything, and I felt like it, and it took me a long time to kind of switch, like my mental states, like because many times I didn't admit that I was injured, and I kept re-injuring myself, just doing regular things, just being active and enjoying like normal hiking, climbing, just some fun stuff, and I constantly kept hurting. And then it took me 10 years, I started to see myself as a cripple. I started to feel that I'm a cripple. Like I wasn't feeling like my body wasn't balanced. And that's not a nice, healthy mindset either, that you kind of see yourself as not being able to do do things. So it was a bit of a roller coaster of emotions and emotionally and physically that defined the journey. But I think in the end, we talk about a lot how 777 is about acceptance and some like stoic acceptance in many ways. And I think in that part of like Jeb's journey and my own journey, so these accidents that happen didn't really become an obstacle. Like they were not like a blocks in us like story, but they became part of our story that translated because my career stopped. Well, I still did the career together. So I was like injured. I was hiding my like, I was, because Pete was a producer of a show that got me to LA in the first place. And I knew that I was like, seriously, I could hardly run, but
you set that up, man.
I set it up. I like hooked you in and I was like too late to go down now. And then one time we got a little tipsy. I like couldn't like say like, listen, I'm quite injured, like seriously hurt and I can't run.
But I was like, we just did whatever we had to do to get it done.
And I actually
ran. Resiliency. You said
I taped my leg and I was running and I was like paying dearly, but like it was worth it. So like, I mean, you take pain because you want to accomplish something. And there was like, this is a project I'm willing to take a lot of pain for. And I did it and it came out great.
And you still jump, which I think is amazing too. And that goes to this, again, our whole topic of resiliency is the fact that most likely I would assume when you did have that accident, and I know both of you speak of this, that you were probably like, you were probably weighing, the options is like, is it worth keeping it doing what I'm doing, or I'm going to be hindered that I know most potentially if I do jump, I'm already putting myself in danger. My percentage rate of survival is not as good. And you did the show. I mean, God, you both were jumping nonstop and put into serious situations. So that resiliency obviously was prevalent there. You know what I mean? You must have learned something.
I mean, it was, but it actually it taught me the lesson that I don't want to base jump anymore. It stopped being fun. and it was just because I've also promised you that I'll do everything. So like, and when you have friends are getting injured, when there's so many casualties, and then when it stops being fun, then that was a good reason to stop and find another careers. But the resilience came from anything that came after that. And also for Jeb's career. Jeb has done the best thing, like the most amazing thing before and also after. So that accident
there's no question my biggest projects happened after the accident. So after I hit Tail Mountain, I did the biggest things I've ever done with Eero. Eero helped me produce them, and we did these. I flew through something called the Flying Dagger, which had huge, we talked about it in another podcast, and then I hit a target suspended over the Great Wall of China, which was another massive project. So a lot of and I did Point Break, which is, I did a lot of stuff afterwards that were my biggest projects. So I did come back, I did stay with it, I did continue, but I was lucky enough to where my injuries allowed me to. And that's the difference. Eero's injury, it sounds like, okay, well, he didn't hit as hard as I did, but his injury was worse than mine. Like it had a more like detrimental, like
Chip said my injury is worse than his.
It was because, and I'll be honest with you, I've experienced a lot of horrific shit in my life. Yeah. I've seen a lot of horrible things. I've watched a lot of good friends die. And I'll be honest, watching Eero go through what he went through was one of the most horrific things I've ever seen. And it's interesting because, we didn't want to film it. It was that bad. It was so bad that it's hard to describe it because his foot was off. It was detached from his leg and it was hanging by skin and the bones were sticking out. And when he was laying in the ground, the bones were in the dirt. And it was so gross. It was so gnarly. Wow. And what he was going through, like psychologically at that moment, the things he was saying and the experience that he was having was very visceral and very real. And he was suffering in a way that's hard to comprehend. And I knew it. And then we were holding hands for parts of it and I was holding him and we just knew how this was a life-altering accident. There's no question. He was never going to be the same. And we weren't sure if he was going to get to keep the foot. Like, it was a pretty good chance he was losing that foot. And when the doctors, like the ambulance finally got there, the thing that took him to the ambulance finally got there, which I actually guided them there. But anyways, we'll get into that later. But when they got there, the guy was like starting to get him set up. And he's like, give me morphine. He's like, I don't have any. You're going to have to wait till we get to the ambulance. And he's just like, what? And he's all, but I'm going to have to adjust your foot. But before, and he basically yanks the foot out and adjusts it and puts it back into position. And there was like dirt everywhere. And I was like, oh, God, dude, you should wash that thing off first. But anyway, like pour some water on it. Like, oh, God. But it was gnarly. And then you hear him like get on the walkie And he's all, yes, partially severed foot, and he starts going through and you're like, oh no, like it was one of the gnarliest things I've ever seen. And it's hard and I guess part of the gnarliness was that it was my good friend.
Yes.
Like we were best buddies at the time, and it was super gnarly. Like, and like I said, it was almost more upsetting than my own, actually, to watch it and to experience it and to see, and to see the surgeries. I mean, you've been through 12 surgeries. I mean, the amount of stuff Ira's gone through with this foot is he's lucky to still have it.
He should have starred in the movie My Left Foot, I guess, instead of Daniel Day-Lewis. I always have to lighten things up. But look, both those stories are very inspiring. The fact that people can listen to it and watch it is pretty amazing. So I just want to thank you both for sharing those. And that's resiliency for you right there. Is two good examples. So look, I just want to remind everybody, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And please go and sign up and subscribe to the 3777 channel. And then also hop on over to 3777.com. We have all our exclusive merchandise, some great videos. You can see our Ronins, which are our ambassadors, and everybody else affiliated with 3777 and our community as it grows and grows and grows. Alrighty, until next time, everybody stay safe and get out there and kick ass.
Thank
Cool.
you.